Welcome to a new SONY panel of this edition of the festival. We are here today to open a space of dialogue about the way of shooting intimate scenes, not only nudity or simulated sex scenes, and the new role of the intimacy coordinator. And we will discuss about the intimacy scenes, how sex scenes has been forced to change, and how these new ways of shooting do affect the director, the cinematographers, the actors, of course, and the rest of the crew. So although we are 6 people here to talk about this topic, we all want you to be part of it. So this is a seminar, and this is an open conversation for all of you. So please be part of it, and feel free to raise your hand, and we will bring you a microphone to hear what you have to say, your own experience in this kind of shootings, and your thoughts, okay? So, well, before introducing the panelists, I would like to remark that all of us miss a question mark on the end of the sentence of the name of this panel, because it's not only a matter about gender or female perspective, not even a diversity perspective, but it's about safety, okay? So now I will introduce the panelists. Sorry, I have to read the introductions. So, well, in the first place, Kasia Sustov. She's a certified intimacy coordinator, member of the European Intimacy Practitioners Guild. Chris is coach and facilitator of Safe Creative Process. She is also co-author of the police guidelines for intimate scenes. And as an intimacy coordinator, she worked on films like Perfect Addition, Elephant, Philip, and Roach 97. And she is currently working on 3 productions for Gaumont and Netflix. So thank you, Kasia, for being here, because I know that you are very busy now shooting. And we have also Piotr Slikowski. Sorry for my Polish.
Piotr Śliskowski.
Thank you. He's a Polish cinematographer, member of the Polish Society of Cinematographers, who has worked in films like Joanna, 80 Million, My Bike, The Battle of England, and series like Magda M, Office Rowie, and Time of Honor Uprising. He received an award at CAMERIMAGE for the film The Master in the Polish Film Competition, an award for cinematography in The Death of Captain Pilepki at the Festival of the Polish Radio Theatre and Polish Television Theatre. So thanks, Pierre, for being here. I think that you can give us your experience in shooting this kind of scenes since a long time ago.
Still shooting. Hi.
Also, Ita Zbroniec. Ita is a Polish cinematographer living in Sweden, member of the Swedish Society of Cinematographers, and she was called the rising female star of the cinematography. And she has shot several feature films, documentaries, and commercials. She was the first female cinematographer to win the Galdabage Award, which is like the Swedish Oscar, which she received for her work in The Yard, directed by Mans Manson. She was also awarded Svenitsky Award for Best Cinematography in Season, directed by John Skok. And her latest feature, Woman on the Roof, is in the Polish Film Competition this year's CAMERIMAGE. So thanks, Ita, for being here. We have also Katia Rivas Pinzon. She completed her studies after a Bachelor of Arts in Theatre and Media at the Academy of Media Arts in Cologne in cinematography. Her diploma film, Mama Told Me Not to Look into the Sun, received an honorable mention at the International Women's Film Festival in Cologne for young talent in feature film cinematography. She is a founding member of Cinematographinnen, the German-speaking network for women cinematographers, and has been part of the Into the Wild mentoring program for young female filmmakers. And she is also a junior member of the German Society of Cinematographers and has been active on the board of ProQuote Film. And she lives and works now in Berlin. So thank you, Katja, for being here.
Thank you, Carmen.
And last but not least, Julia Gates. She is also a member of Cinematography Network. She is a cinematographer based in Berlin. She studied animation, film, and photography, and then switched to cinematography at the University of Kassel. She degreed with a Master of Fine Arts, and she won a special mention for an art documentary in an International Women Film Festival of Cologne. And she works mostly in documentaries, and she can tell us her experience in doing intimate scenes in documentaries, which I think is a field where an intimacy coordinator aren't working still in documentaries. So, well, of course, we meet here an actor or actress for being part of this conversation, because they, of course, are the most affected in this kind of scenes. So let's start our conversation. I have a couple of questions for you, but still, again, it's an open conversation, so you can take part of it. So first of all, Kasia, can you explain what are the responsibilities, your responsibilities in the film productions?
It's kind of blurred, but to make it kind of specific, so first of all, we are responsible to implement director's vision. So this is the crucial thing to understand. It's not our movie or our way of thinking about the sexuality of the characters, it's their way of thinking or imagining the characters. And this is first thing that we want to understand. And then we are responsible for how to make the simulated sex scenes kind of quick and in a funny way, and actors, they feel proud what they see later on the screen. But when it comes like for you to understand more or less what we do, it's still work in a process. There's certain methodology behind it, and there's a guild, so at least there's some things that we have to do. So first of all, we are responsible for a consensual process, and we talk about the consent with actors, which is not so obvious what consent is. And I would love to hear more from you later, but now I give like a quick introduction how you understand consent, because it's developing and it's changing. And I see so many young people on the audience, so for sure you understand it in a different way than, for example, actors who are 50 or 60 years old. And this is something that we talk about it on the set as well. Then we are responsible for making the characters and scene contextualized, so actors exactly they know what is happening and what they do and why they do it, and to make it kind of transparent as well. We are responsible for open communication, non-violence communication on the set when it comes to this scene, but not the whole production. This is what we talked yesterday, that it's not possible for us to be every day. We could be every day on the set, but we are not. So some bad things can happen, but normally when the production is mature enough to hire intimacy coordinator, I would say those productions are pretty cool and safe. We are responsible for the choreography. All the scenes, sex scenes are always choreographed. So this is something crucial for certified intimacy coordinator. We know how to make the improvisation and how to have the scenes improvised, but then we do it in a bit different way. It's possible. We are responsible always for the rolling and closure process for actors. So we help them how to close the characters, not only when it comes to the sexuality and passion, desire of the characters, but as well how to close the process and try to start to live their own lives, which is not easy. How many actors are sitting and actresses on the audience? Can you raise your hands, please? All right, sorry, so I thought it's more of you, or maybe you are too shy to do it, sorry. So you know, maybe you can share your stories, how you do it. There are different techniques, but it's not easy. So that's one thing, let's say culture on the set, but we do the paperwork as well. So we do the risk assessment. when we read the script, when we talk with the director, we know the vision, we know is it 10-second scene, or is like a 5-minute scene, or is like 40-minute scenes, and we know it from the movie, for example, blue is the warmest color, so the actresses didn't know how long the scene is supposed to be. And then when we know at least how long, more or less, director wants the scene to be, so it's different choreography and different process. We are responsible for nudity rider. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't do it, maybe because some of the informations are already in the risk assessment. It depends on the production. When I have a second ID, so then I see, so I prepare the nudity rider, and there is a choreography written down. We send the closed set protocols. We don't write them down because they're already prepared by the guilds, so it's more like international standards that we have, and we implement them with first ID. So this is the person working very close with me, how to implement closed set. And at the end, the feedback form. So whenever something happened, not only regarding the intimate scenes, so we have a feedback from actors. And this is great because one thing, we can develop our craft, we can get some critique, and I really like it to get it, because you can change something and work in different way. And production knows that the whole process was safe and there's no allegations coming, for example. So at least we check what's going on. You know, it's now a kind of insecure situation in the film industry in general, and people are afraid of each other. And then comes the intimacy coordinator, and we have some paperwork done behind this very delicate topic. And the departments, I'm almost done. So we work with almost all the departments which are involved in the scene. So DOPs, of course, directors, as we talk about it. The best option is to have them both together all the time. Wardrobe, when it comes to modesty garments and protection, and how to make the scenes hygienic way, and how to show sex in some certain part of the body that is really hard to cover, and we know how to do it and how to mask it. When it comes to makeup department, it's always about the tattoos. I would say this is the thing that I hate. And if you think about your movies, and please just try not to think about the tattoos. It's always the problem on the set with the sex scenes and tattoos. It takes 2 extra hours always to get them in the right position. They're always jumping from one body to another, and this is what I hate. So this is what we have to do with makeup. And producers, or when it comes, for example, for pubic hair, we want to show it, so then it's makeup department. Grip depends, for example, sex in the cars. I like the scenes in the cars, so how they are going to be shot, or do we remove the window or no? So it's a work with Karl Langer as well. And yeah, so basically every department, that's why it's coordination. So when you hear about the intimacy coaches, so you know that they are not trained and they are more for real sex and those real things that we do in our private lives, not on the set, how to make it simulated, kind of quick. I'm not talking about the tempo, dramaturgy, but no, not to waste like whole day on making one scene. When everything is well prepared and organized, so mostly I shorten the time on the set half. And then we can feel super proud of each other that we can go home earlier.
And do you coordinate only nudity or simulated sex scenes, or any intimate scenes that can affect emotionally the actors?
So it's developing. When I had one scene, let's say, on a junkyard, and I knew that the setup is really rough, let's say, and it's not easy to build like hours and hours. And it was more like a violent scene, and I was really emphasizing that and insisting that they're supposed to be there. It was a slight sexual context, let's say, and then it allowed me to be there, and it was not easy because there was like lots of blood and so on, so it can be triggering. And it always depends on the director and actors. If they come and they say, come on, I don't know, I don't feel super uncomfortable when somebody shouts at me. For example, it can be like just about like having fight. So still the craft that we have and the tools that we have, you can use them for different triggering material, yes. But I didn't have any other scenes that were not in with the sexual context. But it's possible, and we always ask now, it's the decision of director and actors to say what intimate content means for them.
Okay, and you have talked about the intimacy, I don't remember, but I want to know the differences between, because you have worked as consent coach for a production with Miller Rowe. And what's the difference between a consent coach and an intimacy coordinator?
First of all, it's theater and cinema, so it's completely different situation, because in the theater you have lots of time and you have to spend lots of time together, and then the harassment appears. So people are really, I would say, the time on the set, we know it costs money, and it's like every minute, or we count it in seconds when we are ready. So it's completely different. And when it comes to the theater, so we work with Milo Rau. I don't know if you know Milo Rau, so it's like kind of enfant terrible of Swiss theater. And he always has lots of allegations and accusations after every work that he does. And it's not only about the sexual harassment. So, and he's the director that it's not so much focused on emotional part of the process and on actors, but he's always in his concepts and ideas and kind of structures that he proposed. So then the theater called me and we talk about it, that there is no sexual intimate context of the scenes. It's more how to make the process smooth, easygoing, and people, they do what they want and they're not manipulated. And it's, we can talk about it later. It's a completely different work that I did, but by now everybody is happy about this piece, and it's all the time sold out, which doesn't happen in Switzerland, so it works. But honestly, I don't miss that process.
Okay. Well, I think it's talking about the origins or the beginning. I think it's clear that Me Too or Time's Up movements were like game changers in this topic. But what do you think about the platforms like Netflix certificating the ICs and requiring this kind of role in their originals now? What kind of responsibility they have?
No, in Polish we say pomidor. That's a question that we don't want to answer, so
Okay.
I try to... I would say everybody's responsible for safety. So I think the guy from catering, finishing on the person, on the first ID director, and the most important people on the set. So that's, I wouldn't say that Netflix is responsible for anything. This is the business, and this is a capitalistic reality that we are living in. So the question was why they invited us to their group. They created a group of 12 intimacy coordinators with some experience. This was 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and we were trained and they pay for it, and it was like really nice, I would say. So it's normal training is around $30,000, so it's a lot, and you cannot do it in Europe. So maybe in UK, but then it's, you have to be there every second weekend, I think. So with Ita O'Brien. So I don't know how to answer that question, but they try to build awareness around the topic. And I don't know if there's another group of intimacy coordinators coming that I tried for that time. I'm lucky to be one of this group and to have my mentors, and this is great. But I wouldn't say that they have to do something about it, they just want.
Okay, so let's open the conversation to the rest of the panelists. Pierre, you started as a cinematographer 20 years ago, more or less.
25.
Okay. And how are the intimate scenes done when you started?
Hi. Actually, I'm not a woman. It's a female. But you know, intimacy is like everywhere, so it doesn't matter gender. It was in the past. It was different. We don't have such a fantastic person like Kasia, which are now appearing. You know, it's great, but it's all about your sensitivity, empathy, and all this, because we are humanists, so we care about the people. We want to bring out the emotions, but we want to feel everybody safe, comfortable. So in the past it was, and now usually I'm working like that we minimize the crew. This is the first thing, just that we had an appointment with director and actors, creating the lights in the very gentle way, just to have just to make the actors feel comfortable in the scene. So all these subjects, you know, just have a influence, you know, on the final result. So in the past it was like that. We, me and director and first ID, all these guys, wardrobe guys, wardrobe women, everybody was helping, in creating this. So yeah, it was like that, So it's good to have a person who is qualified, now, and has some psychological background. In the past, it was like that we were kind of psychologists also, and creating these things like we feel, but just by creating giving actors the time, giving actors the space and the intimacy to make them feel comfortable. In our way, we wouldn't shoot any good scene. Because if you are stressed, especially in a situation like this, it's impossible to work, So yeah, I think the humanity is the most important thing in this, and you have to be very careful because every person is fragile. We just bring out the emotions. The actors create emotions on the screen, and we are touched, or we love them, or we laugh of them, or whatever they want to create. So they need just the maximum comfort situation to bring this out. So I think this is the most important thing.
Okay. And what are the most important changes that you have experienced during the years?
Yeah, during the years, we became more experienced people, so we know more characters, we know how to create the scene in the proper way, how to adjust the set. Sometimes we just two person by the monitor, me and director. That's all, because we have to control the picture, but anybody else is not involved. And also on the set, there are sometimes I'm operating by myself when actors feel more comfortable with this. So, and it's the focus polaris than next room, for example, because the remote systems just arrived, a few 15 years ago. So it's easier just to use a small crew and on the right set.
Okay. And have you already worked with an intimacy coordinator?
Yeah, I've worked once. It was a very good cooperation. It was in UK. It was very, 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 very interesting cooperation, and it was very successful.
And do you think it improves the conditions on set?
It's improving always. Everything which is developing in a good way. It's improving, our possibilities, because then we have, if for example, coordinator is talking with the actors earlier, and especially when they don't know each other, because if they know each other, there is a less gap, between them. If, for example, but sometimes the actors or actress appears, on the set just for one scene, just episode or something like this. This is more difficult thing because they have to break the barriers, just have just to shorten the distance. All this thing is very, very, very difficult, but and especially in the situation like this, that time is money, So she can help me, I can work and she can do her job. So I'm saving the time, and I have better effect afterwards.
Okay. And Ita, you have been working a lot shooting intimate scenes with intimacy coordinators, I think.
A little bit.
A little bit?
Wouldn't say a lot.
Okay, okay. Okay, but it seems like Swedish film industry is like a more open or pioneering safety conditions on set, or what is your opinion about it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have like a very bad experience somewhere else, so I can't really like compare in that sense if it's better or not. I think they're pretty like Sweden is pretty good at that, like in a sense that there is in general a lot of attention put to safety on set in general, and then also in terms of like for the actors to feel comfortable on set and to be to, for them to be able to give their best performance and not feeling abused is, I think, is always somehow in focus when I work in any Scandinavian country.
Okay. You shot Erotica 2022?
Yes.
It's 5 stories about women's issues.
One of the stories.
Okay, you shot one of the stories, but the film it was like 5 stories.
Yeah, there were different.
And about the world of sex as duty and patriarchal domination. And did you have an intimacy coordinator in this shoot?
Well, I have a feeling that there was someone that we were talking to. Like I have a sort of vague memory of the person that we were talking to when we were like already like kind of before the shoot. Like I'm not sure, if there was like a, I don't like it was a while ago, so it wasn't like I don't think there was like a certified person that was hired. It was more like that it came as a sort of a suggestion from the production, because I mean we had sex scenes and we have even before the coordinator, that person came in, we have had before a meeting with actors, me and the director, and we went through the whole choreography of the scene, because the scene that we had in that short was a sort of fantasy threesome in one take. So it was quite complicated in terms of choreography. So we kind of figured it out with the actors before exactly. So they knew, they knew where the camera will be and what will be seen. So we discussed through all the steps during that shot. So, like, okay, we start and, this is what I see. And then, this happens and you go there and this is how much I'm going to see. So they knew kind of every step. And since it was kind of a trick shot also, so we also had to hide a little bit and like hide some moments. So it was quite deeply discussed. And then since we went through all that, so I think when we were on set, it went anyway pretty quick. And with the person that was in that role, we went just kind of quickly through like what is going to happen. So it wasn't like a very extensive collaboration.
Okay. And did you have bad experiences in shooting intimate scenes in the past? Because I remember that you told me something about a script that you read with a sex scene without any description.
I mean, I don't even count it as a bad experience. No, it's just that I feel like sometimes there is it's a lot of work like to get to the sex scene, like to understand what it is, because I've had an experience where like there's a script and things happen and then suddenly at the end of the scene it says they have sex. And then, I mean, what does that mean? What are they doing? What's happening? How long is it? Like, no, I mean, there is like no information there. Like for me as a DOP, there is no kind of feeling of, well, what's going to happen. And then in that situation, like I asked the writer director, like to sort of expand on the scene and like ask to, let's try to rewrite it in some way so that we can figure out like what is this scene actually and what it means, what it means for the characters, etc. So I think that this can happen quite often, actually, that the sex scenes are described like that in the script, and it's important just to sort of try to dive into that before even going into like advanced prep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
can I refer to that? Just to make some dynamic to the discussion. So, because I would say I love those kind of scripts, because if you have intimacy coordinators, so then everything belongs to actors. And to the director, of course, if they want to have like exactly 10 seconds or like 5 minutes. So I really like that situation. Of course, when there's no intimacy coordinators, it's totally blurred and you don't know what to expect. But then we are not obliged to do anything. And honestly, even if the script is changed on the set during the shooting, so I like it. So when we come to the rehearsal with actors, I say, come on, you always can say no and we are just leaving and it's over. You don't do anything, but maybe you want to try something extra. And it gives so much freedom to actors. So if there's anybody writing scripts here, so you have 2 different perspectives. So if there is going to be intimacy coordinator, please leave it with actors. They know exactly what they want to show and how they want to do it. And if there's nobody, so it's better to describe it, definitely. Yeah.
There was nobody. Probably.
Okay, and Ita and also the rest of you can explain or describe how is a close set in this kind of intimate scenes? How many people are on set? How's the equipment? What equipment you are allowed to have, and how does affect from your cinematographer perspective?
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, always when I shoot intimate scenes, I'm the only person in the room. I'm usually operating camera myself, so everybody's outside. It's just me and the actors. And so, I mean, the focus puller is wirelessly, and it's the same, the monitor for the director. Director is usually outside. Sometimes they want to be inside, so then they're inside, and that's fine, of course. But then, I mean, there is like, if there is like, we're on the ground floor and there's windows, so we usually have like kind of guards outside the windows, or, you know, we try to shoot, like, let's say not towards the window, so we can like kind of figure it out, so it's a little bit of a safe space, like so that there is like no one that can kind of sneak in, etc., so that the actors could feel comfortable.
And the rest of you? The rest of you? Have you shot with in a close set?
Yeah, I can answer.
Yes, of course, Katja.
Yes, I have shot in closed set, and actually the experience was quite similar to what Itop just said, except with, it depends sometimes, like how many people like need to be in the room, or if this wireless, if all the wireless connections are functioning, and for example that it's also a question of the relationship between the actors and the director, if they want the director to be in the room. So there's like this one time where we were shooting a solo sex scene, which was actually a very intimate moment as well, where the director, she was doing the booming, and I was operating the camera, and everyone else was outside. And that was extremely important as well, because we were also, we discussed the scene as well before, but it's also important that we have the moment on set, that we have the freedom to actually talk about, okay, does this work in the space actually, like right now, does it feel right, or do we need to change something, or so yeah, that was actually, at the end we did it even more simple than we thought before, because we had prepared the scene, actually the director and me, we were like kind of rehearsing it in the moment when we were setting up the shot list, and afterwards, of course, talking and discussing it very openly with the actress, also to know the borders, like where she could go, what we could show, so that there would be absolutely no surprises. I think that's really like also like what was said before, that it's a choreography that is really being rehearsed, and me operating the camera, I am part of the choreography. It depends a little, of course, on the lens and on the situation, but like physically, I'm rather close. So it's also really important that everyone feels comfortable, actually including me in that sense, so that I really need to feel welcome. So because I'm not, that's like the last thing I want to do is like intrude in something. So yeah, that can also happen, because we were earlier talking about like what intimacy is, and of course like the most common thing that comes to mind is sex between at least two people, but it also can be possible that it's a very like solo sex moment or whatever, like some kind of relationship that is actually like getting really intense, not necessarily including the act of sex.
It can be showering scene. It can be showering scene like without any sexual context, just one person being naked.
There is another question, because the intimacy is not always sex, you know, because I had a situation like that. The director during the shooting just asked me just to suddenly just go very close to the actor. You know, it was just scene. He was investigated about the policemen, and he asked me just to go extremely close with the wide lens. You know, so I came. Sorry, Ita, but I was just that close with the lens. You know, and I just. It was like just for him it's too much. I just broke his comfort line, so he just stopped the shot, and then we had a small conversation. But I said, I'm sorry about this, but you know, they asked me to do this. Yeah, he said, no, now I understand. So I'll be ready for next shot. But it was for me, it was a little bit, you know, embarrassing for me. Because I just noticed that I crossed this thin line, you know, in between us. So it's not always the sex scene. We just have to be careful, and then we just did very close shots, you know, with the many angles, and it was no problem. But he wasn't ready for this. So, but you know, the idea of directors was just to do this, and not saying about this. So we have to be careful about this, because these borders are very gentle, especially when somebody is a more introverted person and has his space just a little bit wider than usual. So yeah, that's another aspect of intimacy. Thank you.
Of course. And does these intimate scenes affect you personally when you are shooting them?
It's so private questions, you cannot ask them. No, but who's supposed to answer? It was.
Yeah, Katya.
I don't know.
But I think we are.
I rescue you. All right. So I think it's we have so many things to decide in 1 second. Like, so I would say you just know I'm always happy with the scene that I know it was great and looks great when there's a silence after the camera stop. So you know it's like when there's like everybody's like, so you know it just works. And then we are kind of proud of each other. But we talk a lot about the safety, and I think it's really maybe the moment still to start to talk about the moment that we are there on the set to show the passion and the wider the context of the characters as well. So it's not only what is safe or what is dangerous, it's about being, sorry, an asshole on the set or not. It's really about like to deeper the relations between the characters. In intimate, our private intimacy tells a lot about us and about the characters. And it can change the story, the storytelling, and it can change lots of things that we have, that directors want to say, because they want linear, let's say, stories like that, but the sexual relations shows something else. So it's, I think it's more complex when you have intimacy coordinators. So I always say that I'm not a moral police. So when they call me from the productions, I always insist to have a call with a director. And this is very important for me to understand what they want, and then we negotiate the contract. So yeah, and I think this is important to understand, that we make those scenes just beautiful.
And the working for the project in the proper way and a safe, this comfort zone should be the most important thing.
And it's interesting with the comfort zone, because when you allow actors, this is my, let's say, condition, the first condition, it's not normal for all the intimacy coordinators, but it's for me, if I get a right from director that the stop can be set not only by them, but by the actors, this is already the situation that everybody wants. And wins. So then it really allows actors to give definitely more. And you know that because they are allowed to say stop, and then it's really the magic happens.
Okay. Have the work of other cinematographers or directors inspired you to shoot these scenes? Or on the contrary, do you have references of what do you want, you don't want to do?
Well, I could answer, because actually all the topic is really complex, and I'm really like, I was just stuck on the question that you had before about if it affects us personally. And so this is a really interesting, like, it's a very interesting question in the sense of like, where is my person? Like, I am a professional person, but I'm of course a private person, but am I the two of them at the same time? Or is there even like a border within me? And me being a cinematographer, I can only imagine how it would be for actors, of course, because the face is like, they show their face all the time and the body in front of the camera. So actually I think there's a very big difference between like how you look at the different tools of filmmaking, for example, as on the actors, if it something like more collaboration or more material that you can like sculpture something out of. So if you ask me what has inspired me, I am truly inspired by processes and results that have been like come out in the terms of collaboration rather than using in the sense like actors as material. Like we were earlier hearing about an example where the actresses in front of the camera didn't know what was going on, didn't know how long the scene was supposed to be. And of course, it's a very complex question whether you can actually disconnect the result from the process. And I personally think that it's not possible to disconnect it, and that it's like really important to talk about the different aspects of a production, how things are being shot, because of course people are absolutely free to do what they want, and if they consent in something that is not my taste or that I wouldn't be consent, they are free to do it. But it needs to be sure that there is this agreement, and I think actually the position of an intimacy coordinator is actually something that really helps in this process. So there would be, that's a broad question, but because of it's a broad answer to a rather broad question.
Okay. And Julia, you are focused on documentaries. And do you think that the presence of the intimacy coordinator in a documentary will improve this kind of shootings?
Of course, I must say I can't not imagine this because in documentary I think the job is already done by the director and me, of course. So we are in this situation, we are taking care for the safeness, and also, yes, I think it's actually our part. So I cannot imagine, of course, there's another person trying to communicate between us, because it's something that must happen between us, so between the protagonist, me, and the director. And I think this is always the idea of a documentary, I think, or I feel.
And what do you think, Asia?
First of all, they work with the truth, or they try to show the truth, and we work with
Part of the truth.
Yes, and we always work with totally made-up stories. So that's mostly, of course, I'm not talking about Gaspar Noé, but normally, let's say, the mainstream cinema. And I think, honestly, I wouldn't know what I'm supposed to do in your movie. So.
Must say.
Yeah, so it could be maybe like a kind of quick introduction about the consent, know how to say no, but of course, no, they know how to be close with your character, and it's always the question we talked about it yesterday. When is that moral line, let's say, I don't know, it's like really, something serious that we start to talk about with the documentary, you want to get the best shot, or you want to have the best situation, and maybe it's always kind of tempting to manipulate your character. I don't know, so you know more about the documentaries that I do, but it could be like so intense and close and relation that...
Exactly, and I think also this intense relation between me also as a DOP, between the protagonist must be strong. So, and I think this is what makes the documentary in the end much more, true or whatever.
But sometimes in documentaries there happens things you can't plan. So it's like
Exactly.
you have to be close to the character, and because I had situation like that somebody was changed everything in the scene, and it was lots of intimacy in documentary movie.
Yeah.
So it was my duty and director's duty to make this person feel comfortable, because there was this person decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So and then that our duty is like be so gentle and to don't cross the border, but to follow this character, because it gives you better picture, better view,
moments, right?
better moments, in the movie.
Yeah. And I also, and I think in the end it's all about trust. So you have to trust each other. And yes, and sorry, I forgot what I want to say.
Ita, what do you think?
I was just thinking in terms of the documentary that I think it's also there's a big part in actually the editing then, because very often the characters are not really aware even if we communicate that to them, what it means to be in the documentary and what it means that the film will be shown, they're not really deeply aware of how it will affect their lives, because maybe they haven't been in that situation before. And then, you know, that this process of crossing the line in intimacy is not only during the shooting, it was maybe during the shooting you photographed something and it was okay for them then, but then it's not okay for them later. So it's important just to sort of, you know, go through that during the editing or before the film is actually finished.
Okay, and Julia, can you remember a specific scene in a documentary where the non-actor was affected?
I mean, I had a lot of situations where the protagonist was affected. Of course, I mean, mainly was a documentary about this person. But I had, for example, I had a situation with a trans man, and it was during his transition, and we entered his flat, and he opened the door. We entered this flat, and he said to me, "I'm so nervous." And then I said, "Yeah, me too, because I also don't know what will happen." And we will see what will happen. And for me, it's never the same job. So for me, every day is new, and I also don't know what will happen. And of course, I'm also insecure in a way, what will happen about it. And it helped also a lot to be that honest in that moment. So for our relation during the shoot, it helped a lot.
Okay. Do you have any question? Okay. Let's bring the microphone, please.
Hi, my question is for Kasia. I've been on 2 jobs in the past year where I'm a second AC, so I'm just kind of observing a lot of the things that are going on in the coordinating. But they both involved huge numbers of essays that were naked. And on one of them in particular, actually, unfortunately, one of the gentlemen ended up being let go because it came about that he was making inappropriate comments and things to his colleagues on the set. And obviously there's hundreds of people, and I'm just curious, like, what can you do, or what do you do with when this is going to be a situation? How do you control when you have huge amounts of people that are going to be naked and them with each other? Is there anything going on there?
Did I get you right that there were lots of actors being naked and there was no intimacy coordinator?
Oh, sorry, lots of supporting
yeah.
cast. So yeah,
Like extras and
extras.
And
yeah,
how many of them were there?
hundreds.
What was that movie? Pasolini.
I don't want to say.
All right. So I would say this is kind of problematic that the production, made such a scene without hiring somebody or anybody.
Oh, I'm sure there was an intimacy coordinator, yeah, but I mean, obviously this was happening, you know, and he did get let go, so it did get reported.
So
but before they come on set, is there, I don't know, a chat about this with them? I mean, it's.
All right, so first of all, I had the biggest scene that I did was 15 dancers, strippers / go-go dancers. It was not clear who they are, let's say, but the context of the work was sexual. So it was 15 women and 15 men, so it was 30 people, and that's top that you could get. I think that one IC can be responsible for 20, 30 people maximum. So that was, I would say, in other case, there would be like nobody on the set. So I said, I have to be there, and that was one thing. And then it took me 3 minutes to find out who is professional sex worker, or let's say around sex working, doing things. I knew that they are super strong characters and they know how to take care of their own boundaries and their friends. So I said, all right, so now you're 2 of my assistants. I said, yeah, great. So then there was 3 of us. So then we knew that we are responsible for 10 people. So we were like we did it like a kind of military way. So it's like your sector, my sector. So that's one thing. But if it happens, so you hear, like it just can happen. Now you go for a coffee and somebody just takes some, I don't know, some really disgusting jokes, yeah? So it's always good to say, come on, we are here to shoot the film. So that's first of all, just to remind people why they are on the set. So that's the thing. This is faking and this is simulated situation. So just to be aware, this is not real. So it's another thing, just really to remind people in what situation they are here, and you are paid for the work. and you are paid here to behave, in the sense that we expect from you that you are not going to say anything rude to anybody. If they say so I would throw that person, because you have like 100 people naked and one is asshole, just get rid of them. They won't be noticed on the set, on the final cut. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you have to be
anything
super
that would
strict.
happen that could happen prior to them coming, because I think obviously on the day, you know, you could, I guess you have these discussions like before everybody comes onto set maybe, or I don't know.
It depends how the casting was done. It's very complicated. We can talk about it later, but I would say I'm kind of strict with the rules, and you have always first ID, so you always, I like the hierarchy, I love the hierarchy, so I always come as a commander. There's a problem, please let's solve it together. I'm not the only one being in the house responsible for safety. And as I told you, like everybody is responsible for safety, not only the music coordinator, everyone. Just find somebody that you are not alone, that no soft young girl, no trying to make the world nice and beautiful. You always have to have a supporter with you, not be alone in that situation, never ever.
More questions?
My question is for Ita and even GP. So we watched the movie Woman on the Roof this morning and we really liked it. And as you say earlier, there was no sex scenes, but I found the movie very, very intimate. And and my question is, does intimacy of the script, of the character, influence your way of filming it? Because I found this very intimate, even when the character is on the floor, just looking at the sky. And I think the picture has a big role to install this atmosphere and intimacy. So how do you work with the director to install this intimacy in the movie?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much. There were only 15 people on Q&A today, so this is great. Well, I think that somehow the process started because we wanted to be very close to the main character. And then when Dorota, the main actress, when she was casted, we had the camera tests with her. And during those camera tests, we were trying different optics with her and different angles. And so we kind of found, I think we found the language somewhere there that, you know, like how we just kind of intuitively felt like, okay, when we're like on this lens and we're this close, or where we're, especially like when we're on her profile, this is how we feel about her. And then that kind of, you know, we had an agreement on this, that this is how we feel about her in those moments. And that kind of went on through the shoot. And then in some cases where, you know, there were also like accidents a bit like this. There is the scene where Mira comes to her husband at night naked. And in that scene, there is like a close-up of her that is a little bit from above. And that was an accident in a sense that it wasn't planned really to shoot it from above, but it was just that we were up on a small J-barm. And then the camera was like, I was kind of going to go down on the shot, but I just saw her there. And then she was already getting into her state, and like she was getting in. And I felt like, oh my God, this is really strong. And I just felt very moved by it. And so we just stayed on that. So I think it's a combination of that. And I think like a big part of it is actually Dorota Pomykał's performance, which is great. And then I also feel like part of me feels is like whatever kind of pictures I would do in this film, like it would feel as intimate, as you say, because of her performance.
Okay, anyone?
Hi, thank you so much. I honestly didn't even know about this role, so this is very eye-opening to me. Before I had this experience, not shooting a sexual scene, but I had to shoot this one-take scene of an actress choking someone to death and having a crazy emotional breakdown afterwards. And I remember very vividly that the performance was so believable that I was petrified during shooting that. And I am really glad to hear that there is solution to this, to have somebody to take care of it, that everybody's fine. of course, we're working for a higher purpose when we're shooting something, but it's, yeah, very important to take care of safety. Now the question, I come from a bit of a smaller country, so there most definitely isn't an intimacy coordinator there. And also, like, the budgets would not allow someone to fly out, most probably, for most projects. I would like to know, you mentioned that there are some guidelines. Could you please maybe give a very quick rundown on the guidelines so we can try to keep all of that in mind without an intimacy coordinator as well present on the set? Thank you.
And where do you come from?
From Latvia, Baltic states.
Yeah, I know, please.
Yeah.
We are Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know anybody from the, because there's some, no, you never know, I would say. We travel a lot, and I would say to think that you cannot afford it, so it's not the smartest way, because I would say I did some projects, even I paid money to support the production because I love it, and today is a premiere of The Elephant, and it's going to be shown in the cinemas from tomorrow in Poland, and I'm super happy about this project. So I would say sometimes it just happens that you don't have to earn money, but mostly we do, of course. So when it comes to guidelines, you can just put online like guidelines, protocols for nudity riders or something like this. So you are going to find American, Australian, Canadian versions. So lots of them online. If you find me on internet, I will give you a tip where to find it. It's open source. We have our Polish one, but it's in Polish, but you have to translate it. And the good thing about it that we work in 11 film organizations with directors, DOPs, scriptwriters, castings. This is like really important. Casting directors, I would say the worst things happens on the castings. So we work together to write it down and to have something that we are agreed at least on certain rules. So it's online everything, and it's free access. Just Google it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so yesterday I watched the film Blaze. There was a rape scene. I just wonder if you have like any strategies, like how to handle a rape scene. Like, do you have to work with a stunt coordinator, or like what would be your approach on?
So the sexual abuse is super complicated, first of all, to shoot it. So, of course, stunt coordinators, but sometimes they are sensitive enough, sometimes not. It depends. So I have only one scene that's not a air word, so I don't want to say it because you never know what people experience in their previous situations in their life. So it's be careful to play with language as well. And yeah, we work with stunts, and it's always negotiable, of course. When it's very complicated, I would say if the scene is crucial for the movie and it's long, I wouldn't dare to take it, honestly. I don't feel educated or I don't know, prepared enough. So I did like a tiny, like it's about the violence is somewhere else, and it's a bit sexual context in it as well. So I knew that I can do it and I could imagine it. But it is something for me that it's not possible to be imagined. I don't take those projects.
Thank you. Thank you.
Questions?
I got a mic, so if I could ask my question. Dzień dobry. So I have a question actually to Kasia as well. Thank you for mentioning that if you believe in a project, you might even consider helping out. Because actually my production is now looking for one, and I was curious. No, that later. I was curious actually how because I've never worked with an intimacy coordinator before. I know the constant stuff, like we tried to do it nicely on sets I worked on, but for this one definitely, yeah, we need one. And I was wondering, yeah, how do you even approach that process? Because I was told in Poland you have intimacy coordinator from the beginning, like maybe even pre-production, and it's like a certain duration of time, whilst in the UK it's paid per hour, so which is a bit different as well. And I just wondered whether there's different approaches to how you do it in different countries, and whether do you actually read the script so you have like a full understanding of the story, the relationship, so then whether it helps. That might be two questions, but yeah.
But what was the question, sorry?
So the first one, I guess, yeah, the different approach in different countries. Like, would you what would you suggest if I'm looking for an intimacy coordinator? Like I drop an email, and does it start in pre-production? Do I send a script?
You're right that we are, all of us, we are super different, I would say. So it's like, that you cannot say that there are some people that are similar because it's really new profession. So some people you will love and sometimes some of them you will hate. And this is like really to give yourself the right to decide with whom you want to work. And then just Google them and just call them and ask for a Zoom meeting, and then you see if they can follow your vision. And it's like really, I would say, be picky, because there are some people already, maybe not, there's not so many of us, and check them if they are educated and they have enough, let's say, experience at least, or tools or exercise or whatever. We have like certain tools to work, and I think this is something now that anybody can be intimacy coordinator, maybe not like coach, but coordinator. Still, there's nobody controlling that. So.
For a certificate, it takes like a year at least, right, to become one.
How to become the certificate, to have a certificate?
Yeah,
it's kind of boring. All right, so one is IDC, it's Intimacy Directors Coordinators in Los Angeles. So then you go there, and it's like 6 months at least. There's IPA, Intimacy Professional Association, and Amanda Blumenthal. In Europe, it's Lizzie Talbot and Anita O'Brien, but they are kind of picky deciding for the students, and they don't have so much time. I know that they have now the course. It's not easy, and it's a big discussion in the industry about the gatekeepers as well. But let's discuss it maybe later. I don't think it's so interesting to the rest of you. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's super expensive. So we were the super lucky ones now to be sponsored by Netflix.
Right. More questions?
Thank you. I was wondering if maybe you can talk a little bit more about, I work as a director myself, and you started talking about, you know, how you, for example, choreograph a sexual scene, and but how do you find the balance between, you know, everything being choreographed and decided on already, but also finding maybe a little bit of freedom or being able to be spontaneous in a scene? And maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Right, I answered this question, but the next question is to my friends sitting on the chairs as well. So please think about your questions that are coming next. So first of all, actors, they always want to add something. So you know actors. So I would say the choreography is just about the movement. So I don't work with the emotions. We talk about it a bit, but it's for directors. I really skip that or transfer these questions. No, what I supposed to feel. So what answer? There's the answer there. First of all, it's always kind of no fight with the directors. Could be, but I'm good in avoiding the fights, or maybe like no to like minimalize them. Let's say. So always those questions say, come on. I think that director wants this and this and that. So I really put the figure of the director really in the center when we have the rehearsal. That's one thing. And yes, and then at the end, the best option is that we start with actors. And what Piotr said, it happens so many times. There's a first meeting that actors have together. That's with me in the meeting. So they didn't meet the director yet because they were on the casting. And it's like really not nice situation for me, because then I become somebody that they join them. So. And I always ask directors if they can, and it's possible even if they're shooting, that they come just for 10 minutes at the end of the rehearsal to check if they like it or not. And we have few proposals always for the directors, so like 2 or 3 or maybe sometimes even 4 in the way how it can end up. And then they give some additional tips. So I would say we work together with directors super close. Yes, so the freedom always is there because everything comes from directors. But it's not like, you know, if we discuss that it's, I don't know, 5 thrusts, it's not suddenly 30 thrusts that you have your face on the wall, for example. So we know if we want to have a face on the wall, that's fine, but we rehearsed that before.
Yeah, exactly. So you would say the freedom is more in rehearsal and maybe less on set while shooting.
I don't know what freedom means in the creative process, honestly, no? So it's really from the directors. If they tell me I need like 30 seconds and I want to tell this and this and that, no? I need them to do and it's always about the power as well, no? Sex. So it's really, if you don't need that sex in the movie, why to have it? Just remove it.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Sometimes it's opposite, because I had a situation like that it was just intimate scene between 2 of actors, and they just improvised during the scene, and they just went further and further and further and further and further, and at the end it was fantastic scene. I was improvising with the camera. I was operating. It was fantastic intimacy scene. Just a gentle sex between them, and director doesn't say stop. So we've been filming, but we have to be careful about the situation, because it's always the balance between what you want to achieve on the screen. Sometimes things happen, you won't plan. It's just a matter of just humanity, and just if you are open on another person, it's like you observe, you go to observer, you feel emotions. Sometimes you know that you don't have to stop camera, but sometimes you have to just stop camera.
Thanks.
One more about.
It goes faster. Could tell us more about your communication with as a DOP with the director about the intimacy scene? I mean, how this is the intuitional decisions.
Yeah, this is very. With every director is a little bit different. It's like, let's say, in my opinion, just DOP is just kind of a woman in the connection with the director. So we just have to. We are just our kind of neck. So we just point the head, in the right direction. So it's just a matter of just finding the balance and the trust in between each other. And then when we work on the scene, we know that sometimes I'm not stopping camera. I know, just because I can feel that there is something more. But sometimes it's like sometimes we need to shoot precisely scene because it's planned like the video clip, But sometimes it's like the long shot, and you have freedom just to lose the actors, just find them again. So it's every story is told in another way. So every director has another personality and another way of watching the world. So it's not we just have to adjust ourselves, our sensitivity, our way of photographing, just in between. Yeah. Yeah. No, no. I think it's. I think it's everything is different, So there's no prescription, that you have to react like that or like that, You just block the scene. You see that there is something is going good direction. So you have to just talk with director which way you're gonna do. This direction or this, show less or more. It all depends, about the compromise between your vision and director's vision. And another thing is, you just, when you operate in camera, you feel the actors. You feel their emotions, and you feel how they act, and you are responsible as a camera operator also for intimacy, so to don't cross the barrier, don't cross the border, and find out the solution, because nobody's tell you, during the shot. It's your sensitivity. It's kind of everybody, every DOP sitting here is different, and our sensitivity is a little bit different. But you have to feel, you have to know that there is another person in front of you, sometimes naked, showing emotions, showing just everything to you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add something about the question that was made about the concept of freedom as well, because what I have experienced is that the way that you rehearse it and that you have the choreography, including the camera, is actually giving freedom and safety. And in this, like, rather strictly concept of working, there you find the freedom. And I mean, of course, if there's an agreement, it's absolutely possible to work, of course, in like some kind of improvisational way, of course, but the agreement or the consent needs to be from everyone in a very strict way beforehand. So this is like what I wanted to add to the question of freedom. If you have like sometimes like a really strict concept can give you even more freedom in this like really closed borders, let's put it that way. But it's also that you, in this way of working, you can make sure that everyone is safe, and then you can go, then you can be free in the safe space.
Do you work directly with the cinematographer? Or was Kasia? Was your relationship with your relation with the cinematographer on set?
We don't talk a lot. I would say this is the most silent department on the set from my perspective, because they just see, you know, so if they like it, they just like it, and you know that they like it, and they don't talk about it, which is cool. And I would say there's no, because we talk about that freedom, I was like thinking about it, that there's a huge, like, I don't know if there's an amount of freedom, how you can call it, the moment on the rehearsal, because the actors, they really can propose anything, no? So I have some, of course, ideas in my mind if they don't have any proposals, but actors, they're great actors, so they have thousands of proposals, and stupid ones, and great ones, funny ones, anything. So I wouldn't say that there is, if we take the freedom from the process, I would say we take the fear from the process. So, yeah, with DOPs, they are happy because they don't have to hang out with the emotions, like being stressed with actors, so we do it.
Okay, more questions? Okay, where's the mic?
Thank you all. I'm learning a lot, and this is a question for Julia. So I'm also a documentary filmmaker, and I'm always very, like, a lot of the previous process I do before I shoot is about researching my subjects, so I know how to make them feel comfortable when I meet them. And I'm always wondering, like, do other documentary filmmakers develop their own methods of making your subject feel comfortable? Like, do you have your own set of tools to do this?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I don't know. I think, of course, I have in a way, and I think always when I meet up with a protagonist first, I think I'm more like the calm person, because I always think it's very important that the director and the protagonist come along very well. So I'm more in the back, but I also see myself a bit like a backup for them both. So, and I think I always talk a lot to the protagonist. I always ask them if it's fine for them. If we shoot, if it's fine, I'm coming closer, I'm standing here. Is it okay that I really shoot this now? And this helps. I come. And this helps also a lot, I think, to really have a relation and to really, having this relation. And I also recognize that actually every shoot I have had afterwards, we had anyway a very strong relationship, even after the shootings. And that's what I also really like in documentaries.
Thank you.
Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, hello. My question is for DPs. One time I was sent a script in an email from a male director who said it's a story with a lot of love scenes that weren't necessarily sex scenes, but love scenes. And he said, I feel like I need a female DP to shoot this. and I didn't really like the fact that he was considering my gender before my sensitivity, or that we didn't even discuss the subject, that it was just about gender. And I was, because I know we're all different people and we all have differences, experiences and different sensitivities, but I was wondering if you think that there is such a thing as a female perspective, or is there such a thing as a female approach in shooting love scenes? And same thing goes for, is there a male approach? Like, does it, yeah.
Good question. Who answers?
Yes, I mean, I also recognize a lot that people ask me and they say they want to have a female DOP, and they also sometimes come up and say they want to have a BIPOC DOP. This also happened quite often. And then I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I always like this, because there are these prejudices, women are more sensitive or whatever, and I think it's actually genderless. But I think it's always, first of all, I think it's always the relationship between the director and you, and to the topic, the approach to the topic. And then I think it doesn't matter actually what gender you are, I think. Maybe.
What do you think, Ita?
Okay. I mean, I also relate. I guess like every female cinematographer has the same experience, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's easier for someone who's watching the work to know if there is a female perspective or not. But I mean, it's also, I mean, it goes both ways in a way. Like, you know, like I was once interviewing for a sport movie, where in the end, like I got into, like I was in the, and I went through a couple of rounds of this, and then in the end, the director called me and he said, like, you know, I'm really sorry, but we're not gonna go with you because we really need a guy to shoot it, because it's a sport movie and the producer doesn't trust that a woman will pull it off. So then, you know, then it's like it goes both ways in a way. So, and I mean, I think in a way, I don't really think, or like, I mean, I don't judge, like, you know, when people ask me like that, in that question, because I think that in their minds, they feel that there is something that is important about your gender when they ask you the question. And sometimes it could actually be that, you know, for example, when they're not aware that there's someone like a intimacy coordinator, maybe what they think is that, oh, these love scenes will be difficult for my female actress. And she will feel more comfortable if there is a woman behind the camera.
Hi, I have the mic, so I want to ask a question. So my question is basically about communication on set, because you kind of touched the topic a bit as a DP, if you're with an actor and an actress. Like, how do you change your communication towards the actors or the director when you're in a closed set and in this intimacy situations? How do you change your like language or like communication towards the acting or the director?
I assume it's for Kasia?
Yeah,
Basically for all the DPs or cinematographers.
I think the communication is very easy now because we have wireless radios, and sometimes if we need just contact with director, you want to hear something from him during the scene, you can have just earpiece in the ear, and then be just delicate, you know, don't disturb actors, and then that's all, you know. During the scene, we won't do too much. We just keep the comfort zone, you know, for actors, you know, we're just doing our job. And then when this stops, we can just do another take if it's necessary. But the communication should be very general. I think we discussing, you know, in the beginning, blocking the scene, we discuss everything, you know, all these possibilities, because sometimes it can go different direction, as I said before. So we have to be ready and flexible with these things, but you know, you can't direct during this.
For sure, not during like the scene itself.
It's
But
like,
I was just like because you said before that you had this moment with the wide lens, for example, and I thought that's like a really interesting
Yeah, but actor stopped the shot, so then we have a small chat. You know, I just apologized him, you know, and he said, yeah, now I'll be ready in 5 minutes. So he just went out for 5 minutes, and he was ready. And then we shot, as I told you, you know, many shots, like very. It was really close, the camera to the actor, you know, just almost on the face, on the skin, all the stuff. So yeah, it's you know, always actor has right to stop the shot if it feels, yeah, Kasia, if he
Should be
feels
like
not
that, but it's really
not comfortable,
every time
you know. Even I feel sometimes I can see she or he is feeling not comfortable. I'm stopping camera. I'm saying stop because I'm the closest person. What? Excuse me? Excuse me? Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Just wanted to make a comment, like just from another angle on this, because you kind of started to talk about the technical aspect of it, but I just thought about that it's also important that when it comes to like the way you communicate, maybe on set, the way you talk about the scenes, the director, is that you stay respectful and kind even when you're outside of the set, even when you're not with the actor, because it's so easy that during the stress and the speed of work, you forget yourself and you repeat like a sarcastic joke or something that you said behind the doors, just, you know, in front of them, even not being aware of it. So it's just a small... Yeah.
Okay, I think
Thank you.
The last question.
I've got the mic. One of my big questions is, if you're looking at a script, this is for anyone happy to answer, if you're looking at a script, is there anything in a scene of intimacy that would make you then decline the script?
I'm not ready to work with minors, and I think working and having sexual context with minors, it's totally not my cup of tea. But we had, like, let's say some seminars or some workshops how to work with minors, and I said to my mentors, like, I'm not taking those projects. I think it's just crazy. I don't want to do it. Of course, then is a question always they ask you, and who is going to take care of those kids? And I said, oh, please, we don't go this direction. So I never had proposal with kids, and I think it's super, super dangerous in a way. And yeah, that would be only. And then we talk about the real R-word scene, like the long one with super violence toward women or men or transgender people and queer people. I don't like, in general, violence. So.
Okay, a quick last question. Okay.
I wonder, like, how is in a romantic, like, intimate scene, I wonder how is generally the vibe. Is it always like now it sounds, it's always like really stressful and you want to get over it and it's just not fun. And is there sometimes where it's like good and like...
Thank you for this question. I really waited for that. All right, so he doesn't have a mic. Can somebody give him the mic, please? Because it's a really interesting question.
Okay, I try to repeat. I wonder in a romantic sex scene, obviously, if it's always like really tension and stressful for everybody and they just want to get over it, or is the vibe sometimes different, or is it, yeah, obviously it depends, I think, on the actors if they're like comfortable, but when everybody's comfortable, can there be some like a good vibe, or is it always like we want to get over this, and or is it more like everybody tries to avoid shooting sex scenes and stuff?
Well, it
or
depends.
how is it?
It depends on the actors, first of all, but as you said, thank you for that. No, I was trying to put something on the table that it's not only about the safety, it's about how to make it more complex, the character. And it's not like, no, they want to play it and play it and play it. Of course, when there's some kind of affair on the set, so maybe they want to play it because they are back to their real lives and then it's over. So, but I'm not stepping in those situations. I'm pretending not to see those affairs because it's not my work. But of course it helps, no? Those scenes, then they look really amazing, of course. But it's still simulated sex, so there's no kind of dramaturgy like from real life, no? So it can be intimate because of the touching, and we are mammals, so we like to be hugged and hug people. So of course, yes, and I wouldn't say that all the scenes, there are like actors that are really like, oh, I really want to just jump out from the situation. No, not at all. If they feel secured, if they feel like super nice, then it's all right, and they are at work and they like to shoot, of course, no? So maybe once the scenes that I like in the cars, so it's always kind of cold, no? So they really want to finish because they are frozen in those cars. So that's, yeah, but normally when you're in the studio and it's warm and they know what they do and why they have to repeat it again, what a director wants, for example, no? And the script and the continuity and what it was like, they mix their hands, for example, so. Yeah, so I don't want to leave you like actors, they hate sex scenes. No, they like it if they're prepared.
How's the DP perspective?
I think that, that's the last, like Katja said, there is sometimes chemistry between actors, just a couple of them, and then you can feel it, and they feel comfortable between each other, and they have fun, and the scene is very romantic and just developing. Yes, it's just directors' way just to say stop. Because if not, they can go.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, when there's always like tension, if you can get a real how do you say,
you want to
for the viewer an experience that it is really romantic, to really point it out, because like when there's just tension in the room, I think the viewer can like also sense it through the camera, and you have to.
But remember,
I just imagine it must be a good vibe sometimes. No, also.
but you're watching movies, yeah. So sometimes there are very good scenes, intimacy scenes.
Sometimes it's believable, yeah.
Great scenes, we remember for years. Sometimes they have really shit scenes, which there is no chemistry, nothing, so just bad scenes. So yeah, it's like everything is different, It's like it depends, many factors. We as a professionals, we're just supposed to create this comfort zone for this to happen, just to create the perfect lighting, framing, atmosphere, all this stuff, But things happen sometimes like that, sometimes like that.
Is there like is there like an example somebody experienced like a intimate scene where they like really felt comfortable like as a DP and everything went just like almost fun way, or is it like most of the time the other way?
Actually, no, I think shooting is a lot of times a lot of fun, to be honest. What we are talking about is how to prepare it and how things and it's just that there's this new awareness, which I think is a great thing to actually talk about this, this open in this workshop type, because there's something about the way that actors and scenes have been shot before, and now it's a different approach. But it doesn't mean that it's not free or that it's not fun I think it's really important to point this out. And actually, there was something that I wanted to ask about the question about being female DOP, because a lot of times I think every female DOP knows this, or female red DOP knows this kind of experience, that you're just being asked for a script, okay, we want this different approach, we want this different perspective in it. And I think there's something really important to point out apart from the gender topic, that it's something about respectful and disrespectful and objectifying and non-objectifying look. So this is something that I wanted to give you at the end of this talk now with you, that it's not about all this female approach and we need some extra profession or extra position on set to be to really create a safe space. But what we also need is the awareness of how we use our camera and how we do the directing of our scenes in a respectful way and non-objectifying way. And if the question is what kind of script I would refuse, would be something where the narrative position, for example, is non-respect for or objectifying the different characters in the script, not so much regarding the gender of the characters themselves. I think that is something that we can now openly discuss, because there is an awareness which is actually a wonderful development within the public discussion of films, I would say.
Okay, so we have to leave it here. Thank you very much for being here, and we can continue the conversation outside. So, okay.